Good evening and welcome to Real Talk with Tamara. As you guys come into the room, please hit the like button. Also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. I want you guys to know how much I appreciate you so much. All of the people that are subscribing, all of my old subscribers, all of my new subscribers, I want you guys to know that I truly appreciate you guys so much, okay, for supporting the channel. I'm seeing new people are starting to subscribe, new members. I appreciate that so much as I work hard to bring you good content and honest content. Okay. I always express the importance of hitting the like button. It helps to keep the video in the algorithm. Okay. It definitely does. But even though I have more people subscribing, I still see that more people are still looking at the channel that's not subscribed to the channel. So please remember to subscribe to the channel. Okay. I wanted to talk about Tim Norman of Sweetie Pies, was sentenced to life in prison. Now, I followed that case closely, although I did not blog on it a whole lot. I did follow it. I was very interested in that case. Um, I was very much a fan of Sweetie Pies. Okay, I used to always look at Sweetie Pies and, you know, um, just from looking at Sweetie Pies and remembering Andre and how he went down to St. Louis to try to get his life together and things of that nature to spend, stay with his grandmother. She helped him to graduate. He went there for a better life. And what ended up happening was he ended up getting his life taken, unfortunately, at the hands of his uncle. Did I believe that Tim Norman put the hit on his nephew? Absolutely. I believed it from day one, and I'm just happy that there is justice. Okay. I want to show a little video clipping of justice. Hold on one second.
Today, a reality TV
I
star
said
learned he
justice.
will
I,
spend the
I
rest of
meant
his life
of the
behind
video of
bars. A
hey.
judge sentenced Tim Norman for being the mastermind of his nephew's death. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Bush.
And I'm Ann Allred. Tim Norman was known for being on the show Welcome to Sweetie Pies. Today, families learned his fate at the federal courthouse in downtown St. Louis. That's where our Justina Cornell joins us live with reaction. Justina.
Yeah, and so there were two different reactions. For Norman's side of the family, they were somber and hugging it out after the sentencing. As for the victim's side of the family, they said this was everything they wanted to hear. Relatives rejoice over justice and celebrate a life sentence.
Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. Victory. Victory. Finally, I can breathe. 7 years I've been holding my breath.
Andre Montgomery's mother and her side of the family are at ease, knowing 43-year-old Tim Norman will be locked up in federal prison.
If I got to do life, he's going to do life. And I want him to know that I know that he did.
Michelle Griggs lost her 21-year-old son, Andre Montgomery Jr., March of 2016. 6 years later, a jury found his uncle Tim Norman guilty of taking out a life insurance policy of $450,000 on his nephew's name and then having him killed.
He's not a statistic.
Norman and his family gained national attention after being on the show Welcome to Sweetie Pies, a St. Louis soul food chain owned by his mom, Robbie Montgomery. In the show, Norman's attorneys say he portrayed kind actions, and it's because Norman wanted to pay it forward.
He went to jail at a very young age, 17, and kind of grew up in a prison and kind of against all odds was able to make a success out of his life and really give back to the St. Louis community.
But Judge John Ross said Norman had an incredibly dark side. Assistant U.S. attorneys say his history and characteristics on camera don't measure up to what happened behind closed doors.
It was a series of events that made it absolutely clear what had happened, and that Tim Norman was the architect of all of it.
For now, his attorneys will continue playing defense.
Tim was always just, after the verdict, focused on the appeal. So his efforts are really central on that. And I think there's almost a sign of relief that he can get started on that process.
Montgomery's family says their fight is finally over.
I knew God was in control. And I knew that he was going to get what he's supposed to get. And he got exactly what he deserved.
And Norman didn't say much in court earlier today, but he was vocal last week on social media. He posted on Instagram claiming his innocence and wrote #innocent. Reporting live in downtown St. Louis, Justina Cornell, 5 on.
Now, this is a prime example of plain greed and stupidity, right? I think I told the story of how why. Of course, I was a really big fan of Sweetie Pies, but it just so happens that I had the opportunity to talk to Andre's mother. That's the victim. A friend of mine that lives I guess he lives around Houston, because she ended up calling me from Lubbock, Texas. Lubbock. I don't know if that is like around Houston, but that's actually where she ended up calling me from, maybe about 3 years ago. A friend of mine named Byron had reached out to me, and he's like a spiritual warrior. Like he's like he's definitely like a spiritual warrior. And he was like, I was in meditation, and he said a friend of mine wanted a private investigator. He said her brother, had was killed, and his case is still unsolved. He said, and they asked me about a private investigator. He said, and I was here in meditation, and I thought about you. And Andre had moved back he was from Houston, but he and I, not Andre, but Byron and I, he was from Houston. He ended up getting close to me because his cousin, he was doing like security work for his cousin, who has like a really big law firm in the Memphis area. And I actually did some investigative work for his cousin, right? And we were in the same building, and he would always come down and have me to do investigative work for him. And Byron just kind of took to me, right? So even when he moved back to Houston, he kept in contact with me via Facebook. He would call me on my cell phone. So when he called me, he was like, I was in meditation and God brought you to my mind. He was like, you was the first person that came to my mind. He was like, I want to know if it's okay for you to, he said, I want to know if it's okay for me to have him to give you a call. I said, sure. Okay. My phone kind of threw me off. I said, sure. And so probably later that night at around 11 o'clock that night, my phone rang from Lubbock, Texas. And it was Andre's mother, the victim's mom. She was very, she didn't have a whole lot of words. You could tell she was very spiritual, but we ended up talking for over an hour. We might have talked for 2 hours. And so when she started telling me about her son's murder and all of that, she was like, he was murdered in St. Louis. And she said he was murdered in St. Louis. And she said, I don't know if Byron told you, but my son was on a show, on a TV show. Byron had not told me that, but when she said that and she said St. Louis, I automatically knew. Okay. What I automatically knew that I just felt like it was that, at that point. And I even kind of talked to her and told her, I said, well, you have to understand, I can go and investigate in St. Louis. I'll have to take a team with me. I said, it may be better if you get some investigators down in the St. Louis area. Okay. And she was like, no, I don't really want to get anybody from around that area. She was like, since I've been sitting here talking to you, I want you to do it. I said, because traveling to and fro, you're going to look at extra fees, right? Because I'm going to have a team. And so, she was just adamant about it. And I was like, well, let me think about the price. She texted me the day after and was like, have you came up with a price? And she waited a few more days and she asked me, have you came up with the price? And I ultimately decided, for some reason, we were already kind of booked, you know what I mean, with cases. And I don't know why, but when I was talking to her that night, I said to her, okay, well, the first thing we would need to do is we would need to talk to Miss Robbie, and we would need to talk to his family down there in St. Louis. And the only thing she said was, She never told me that she thought that they were involved. Maybe after she had hired me, she would have told me that. And I don't know. I just kind of felt like God kept me from that. Maybe she would not have said anything. She would have wanted to see what we could go down there and find out. But we would have been going into that blindly, right? Because I think Tim is sadistic, right? But anyways, I remember being on the internet about maybe a month later, after I decided, because we were already overloaded, that we couldn't take it. the feds had indicted some of those people. And what she didn't know at that time was, Byron told me, that the feds had already picked the case up and had been secretly working that case for a couple of years. And the reason for that is because they traveled across state lines. See, when you start trying to solicit hits, you got your ass in St. Louis, okay? And the girl that he got to help him and was soliciting, with this hit, she was in Memphis. You traveling across state lines, okay? And so the feds had gotten in. I don't know why these folks think they, got more sense than the feds. They go get these burner phones now. Tell they folks to throw them in the damn river, and the feds already done heard all that, okay? And and they able to get the data. They able to hear the conversations. Okay, your high price attorneys can't, they just can't outdo the feds. The only thing they can do is bluff you with the law, and they bluffing you because they know you don't know nothing about the damn law. You just an ignorant fool half the time, right? Just doing stuff. Okay, so anyways, because see, I'm getting pulled into something else. Let me get pulled back into Andre, because this is about Andre, okay? But I'm so happy that Andre has gotten justice, okay? And I watched that extremely closely, and to see her in that video, and she looks just like she sounded, and that was very humbled. She, like I said, she talked to me for over an hour, and she was adamant about she had wanted to hire me because she felt comfortable with me. And, I guess one of the, God allowed us to be overloaded with cases during that time because God had already known that the feds was working on that case, but she had no idea about that. And a month later, there was an indictment on that case. So it's been 7 years since Tim took his nephew out. And I know a lot of people go back and forth about Miss Robbie. I think at Miss Robbie's age, it's easier for her to believe that it's easier for her to believe that her son didn't do this to her grandson. Tim's older brother was Andre's dad, and he was killed in violence. Okay, so you take your son out, you take your brother's only heir out of here the same way because of hate and greed. The truth of the matter is he killed Andre because he knew Andre was going to tell the truth about Kim. Tim was the one that broke up into Miss Robbie's house and stole her money. Okay, because Tim was in debt trying to open up all of those branches of Sweetie Pies, and Miss Robbie had to shut him down. She had cut him out, so he started opening up TJs, and all of them, tanked. Because at one point they was going to open up a Sweetie Pies in downtown Memphis. We was really happy. They had gotten a building ready, and then all of a sudden they just decided they weren't not going to do it. And he opened up one, I think, down in Houston, Texas. I think that one is closed too here. So I think one of the reasons why that he did not end up opening up that, because it was all on the news. I mean, people was just very happy around the Memphis area, because hell, we went down to St. Louis to go to the restaurant. We went to spend a weekend in St. Louis just so that we could go and visit the restaurant, right? One time, me and my family, and the food was pretty good. We wanted to go because we had seen it on TV and all of that. And but I believe that he killed Andre because Andre was going to tell the truth about that. I believe Tim had ultimately he was going to do his mama in. He just felt like that his nephew was more accessible. He didn't have no connection to him. He was jealous of him, and he was just cold-hearted. Okay, so you definitely got to read what you sow. So Tim, he's a cold-hearted freak, and he needs to be in jail. And I'm happy that they have gotten their justice, right? So one thing for sure, you may go for a while because it was looking like Tim was going to get away with that. And praise God, Andre's mother, she wanted some justice for her son, because see, she started to feel a little suspicious when Tim was trying to get his death certificate so that he could get that insurance money. But God didn't let that work out. I'm noticing, because I think the young man, I see people get mad at me when I say foreigners, but I ain't okay. The young man that that helped him, that owned the insurance company, that helped him rig up the insurance policy. I'm starting to see that more and more foreigners are, starting to own these insurance companies. So they're coming in from other countries and things of that nature, open up insurance companies, and they're most of these record companies, because Tim has started to get into the record business. They go to these foreigners to get these high insurance policies. Because if you go to a regular person, they'll say in a minute, you can't take out that type of insurance policy. So I don't know what these foreigners got going on where they can go and get 10 and 15 million dollars on somebody that ain't even related to them. Stuff like that don't usually go on. Okay. If you talk to a regular insurance agent, they'll say that. Okay, but before somebody bring they jacked up ass up in here talking about you don't know what you're talking about, you better believe I've done work for insurance companies also. Okay, that's what investigators do. It ain't normal. Okay, it ain't normal. And usually insurance companies they will not allow you. It's certain ones that will, but they will not allow you to take out that type of policy on somebody, because number one, you got to be making a certain amount of money. It depends on the relationship the person is to you, and things of that nature. So a lot of foreigners are starting to get into the insurance business, and that's who the record companies do their business with. Okay, because somehow they're able to get them bigger policies, but we see how that one ended up rigging up that policy, and he ended up getting the least time when he was part of the problem too. Because if he had told him, I can't do that, that's illegal, that maybe this never would have happened. He should get the same amount of time as the rest of them. Okay. But somehow he's been able to wiggle his way on up out of it. Okay. But anyways, you guys, I'm happy that, they have gotten justice for Andre. May his little soul rest in peace. His uncle was the cause of his life being cut down. That's sick on so many levels. But God is showing these evil folks, you can go put a hit on somebody if you want to. I'm coming back for my justice. I want some retribution. Okay. And so I'm happy that his family, like I said, is getting justice. And, in a way, my heart goes out to Miss Robbie. I know a lot of people say they feel like Miss Robbie knew that this was going to happen. I don't know if Miss Robbie knew that. I don't believe that Miss Robbie, I hope, I don't know what people would do now, but I hope that she would not have participated in this. But I think it's easier on Miss Robbie, especially at her age, to believe that her son had nothing to do with this, because I think with the way that Andre's father, which was her son, died, and the way Andre died, I think it's just easier for her to accept that Tim didn't do this, because if not, it would give her a heart attack. Okay. Sometimes people have to think a certain way. It's just a coping mechanism. Like they have to, kind of blot out reality, because if they was to accept it, their heart couldn't take it, and it would take them completely down. Okay. So that's why a lot of people don't live in reality. It's easier for them not to. Okay. But anyways, justice for, Andre. And I hope this is a lesson to a whole lot of people, but I'm happy that his family is finally, and I hope that insurance policy that his mother gets, I don't know if it works like that, but I think they should file, if nothing else, a wrongful lawsuit against Tim. I'm sure he ain't got a damn thing at this point, but I think that they should. Hey, because he's getting ready to spend the rest of his life in jail. Okay. But anyways, you guys, I want you guys to please like, share, and subscribe. I want you guys to know how much I truly appreciate you. Okay. I want you guys to know how much I truly appreciate you. Okay. For tuning in to the channel. Talk to you later.